Welcome back to another week of 52 Weeks of Gaming, and this week I decided to start dealing with nostalgia, I guess, and played a game called Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, which is a fighting game, but always been a fan of Power Rangers and just the whole series, and kind of loosely follow what's going on and that sort of stuff. Haven't really watched it in years, but always liked the series and always liked the stuff in it. So I figured a fighting game for it would make sense, and I mean, they've had them in the past. I've played the ones where you play as Megazords and the old games, but this is a newer one, and so I figured I would try it. And as I said, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid is a game that was developed by Enway, which is a US, specifically San Francisco-based developer, and as well as they published it with Lionsgate in limited run, and Lionsgate games are the ones that that have made the Power Rangers movie that came out several years ago, and this game came out in 2019, originally for the Xbox One and the Nintendo Switch, and then about a week later for the PS4, several months later for Windows. And one of the cool things that this game does, which I mean a few games are doing it now, is cross-platform playing. So originally it started out between the Switch, Xbox One, and Windows, and then PlayStation was added later once PlayStation and Sony kind of relaxed a little bit on the cross-platform idea. But Battle for the Grid is a fighting game that carries across all of them as far as progress, and you play as Power Rangers and characters throughout the 25 years at the time that existed for Power Rangers. So most of it takes place with the mighty Morphin Rangers, but you have other Rangers and other characters throughout the years that kind of pop in and are there. It obviously doesn't have every single Ranger or someone from every single team, because then you would probably be reaching super crazy high levels of characters that they would have similar moves and that sort of thing. But it's something that has its 3v3 combat with a Megazord as a power-up in the background, with an online and arcade. A story mode got added later, as well as the typical training things that you'd go and see in a fighting game. So there's the normal things that you would go and see in it, but I think there's some cool things that are done in the game that make it really unique, with the Megazords being one of them, as well as kind of having these assists and these different characters and movesets that are very similar to what you would see in the TV shows, and having some of the voices are voiced by the actors and actresses who play these characters. So I think that's super cool. I think the story mode, which is loosely based on a comic book storyline called Shattered Grid, which involves Tommy Oliver becoming evil in an alternate timeline called Lord Dragon, and invading and doing all sorts of things there, and it's just, again, loosely based on this story that was in this comic for a number of months, as well as some of the characters that you get unlocked over time. But it's a lot of fun, and that's kind of the big thing with fighting games, is always whether or not I think they're fun. And sure, they're fun, and sure, arcade mode was a bit tricky, but there was a bit of a kind of idea behind it. But I think it was probably one of the more fun fighting games that I've played, probably because I like Power Rangers. But it definitely was something that online was interesting, because you dealt with people that either were insanely good or not. I mean, you kind of had this no middle ground option, it felt like, where there were even some matches that I had that it just ended super quickly because the person lost a few punches, or the connection had an issue or something. But I don't know, it was probably, maybe I like it more because it's the first fighting game that I had a reasonable chance online with. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. I think it was a fantastic fighting game. I think that it's tough in the overall fighting game spectrum to go and say Battle for the Grid, is gonna really make a dent in the fighting game scene and become a big fighting game. I think there's a lot of things that need to be improved on it with the characters and just the overall state of it. So I think it's going to be tough to get into that Super Smash, Tekken, Street Fighter, Soul Calibur, Blaze Blue, all those sorts of fighting games that exist and really fit into that genre and be kind of big. I think it'll be more of a niche style because of being Power Rangers and being the theme there. But I think anyone who likes Power Rangers, people who like fighting games, should go and try it out. I think it's definitely worth it. It's something that's simple to go and pick up, as with most fighting games are, but obviously the ceiling is super high. So I think everyone who likes fighting games, and as I said, everyone who likes Power Rangers should go and try it out, because when it comes down to it, it is a fun Power Rangers game, and it's kind of the Power Rangers game that you would expect, because it's a fighting game. That's what most of the games are. So it kind of was like a nostalgia wave that hit me with it, and I enjoyed it, and that's kind of what I was expecting out of it. So I don't have any qualms with that.